Come here. Which one of us?
This week on Talking About the Movies, Rue, Riff, and Charles, Prince of Wales create probably the most intense love triangle we've seen since Wild Things. We're taking a look at Luca Guadagnino's Challengers. Plus, in celebration of its 45th anniversary and Alien Day, Ridley Scott's 1979 sci-fi masterpiece returns to theaters, the movie that made us believe that in space, no one can hear you scream. We're talking about Ridley Scott's Alien, a double feature this week on Talking About the Movies. And welcome to Talking About the Movies. This is the show, of course, where we take a look at the biggest new releases of the weekend, and we have a big new release this weekend, but we also have a big re-release of a classic film. We'll get into that one a little bit later on here, but first, let's put the focus on our big new release this week, and that is, of course, Luca Guadagnino's latest film, and that is Challengers. So in the movie Challengers, you follow a professional tennis champion played by Riff from West Side Story, the most recent West Side Story, Mike Faced, a criminally underrated musical that nobody went to go see, but you should see it. But he's played by Mike Faced, who plots a comeback with the help of his wife Zendaya, who I don't think I need to tell you where she's from, a former tennis prodigy who retired after an injury, as he goes up against another player played by Josh O'Connor, who also happens to be his former best friend and wife's former lover. And of course, you can see where the strings begin to come together here. And this is my first time seeing a film by Luca Guadagnino. I've known a lot about his works. I know about Call Me by Your Name. I never got to see it. I know about the Suspiria remake he did, and it's funny because for the longest time I thought he was related to me because my mother's maiden name is Guadagnino, and my grandmother's last name is Guadagnino. My grandparents' last names were Guadagnino, and I have a lot of relatives with the last name Guadagnino. I swear, I thought for a moment that we were related, but I don't think we're really. I don't think we're real. It's pretty obviously I don't think we're related, but I thought that was kind of amusing. But this is my first time ever seeing one of his movies before. I've always heard about them, never really gotten a chance to really experience them for myself, but I was kind of tempted by this movie because I like Zendaya. I think she's a terrific actress. I've seen her in a number of great things. Euphoria, the Spider-Man movies, criminally underrated Malcolm and Marie, the Dune movies, of course. And like I said, Mike Faced, really good actor. I'm really glad to see that he's getting more work after what he did with his breakout role as Riff in West Side Story. I don't know too much about Josh O'Connor, except the fact that he's been in a couple movies that I've seen before. He was in the 2015 Cinderella, he was in Emma, the one with Anya Taylor-Joy that came out not too long ago, he was in The Crown. But this is my first time ever seeing him in a leading role, and everybody in here did a pretty good job. In fact, I would say that I really found myself enjoying this movie a lot, mostly because I think the performances aren't very good in here. You can believe that Faced and O'Connor did have a friendship together until Zendaya came along, and Zendaya really breaks out in this movie. She really shows what kind of an acting presence she has in a number of different things she's in. Like, anytime she's on screen, she will usually command the screen and do a pretty good job of what she's doing. And here, I think she did a pretty good job in here. I think there is a lot of things about the film that do indeed work. It's a very intriguing film, a very interesting love triangle they set up here, and it is a really entertaining film. It's a film that really is kind of like, the interesting thing about this movie is like, there's been a lot of good tennis movies, and I'm not really much of a tennis person. I kind of have the same thing about tennis that I kind of do with baseball. Baseball, everyone says baseball is America's pastime, and you have to like baseball. It's just like, when you really look at it, baseball is not an interesting sport whatsoever. And in fact, it's kind of downright boring. But then again, I live in Pittsburgh, and our team is the Pirates, who consistently are one of the worst teams in baseball, so maybe that adds to the flavor there. But with tennis, I don't know. Like, I never really got the whole appeal of tennis in general. Like, the only things I really got from it that were kind of interesting are the stories of, like, the Williams sisters and, of course, John McEnroe, and how he would usually get peeved off at the refs every single time. But movies like this kind of make you want to give more attention to tennis, because they do make it seem very more intriguing and more competitive than it has any right to be. And coincidentally, I always think it's funny that you've seen this online in the last couple of weeks and months about how all the Mary Janes and all the leading ladies from the Spider-Man movies. They'll eventually go into doing tennis movies. I mean, Kirsten Dunst did it with Wimbledon after the first two Spider-Man movies, and then Emma Stone did it with Battle of the Sexes. Good movies, by the way. And now you have Zendaya doing it with Challengers, which I think it's kind of interesting. I don't know if there's some weird connection there. Like at some point, if you've ever played the love interest to the Spider-Man movie, you're going to star in a tennis movie, or what? But like I said, it's a really good film that really does create a lot of good tension between the three leading actors. That's what carries the film in general. And from a cinematic spectrum, from the cinematography spectrum, the cinematographer, who I'm really going to butcher his name, or her name, like, I don't even know who it is, but let me see. I know this is just dead air, but okay, it is a guy. Like I said, I'm probably going to butcher this name, but Seumhu Mukdipram. I think I got that right, but I could be wrong on that. But it's my first time ever seeing his camera work on a movie, and I gotta say, it is very good. And I see that he's also doing his next movie is going to be the M. Night Shyamalan movie Trap, which I mean that movie could go either way, but I'm kind of curious to see where he goes with that one. But I like what he does with the cinematography in here. It looks very different compared to what you would expect from a movie like this in general. I think the music by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross is very good as well. Usually great composers either way. It does keep you invested all the way throughout the course of the movie. I mean, it's a 2+ hour movie, and you never really get bored by the film itself. It always feels like you're always compelled by what's going on in here, and I think it works very well. I think it's a very solid film, probably one of my favorite movies of the year so far, and it just goes to show that Zendaya has a lot of acting power, and probably will probably get some high praise, and even more likely some Oscar consideration going forward. Like they've already been talking about potential Oscar consideration for this, but considering this is opening up in April, and the Academy Awards usually has a short attention span for movies, I doubt that will probably happen. I would like to see it happen, but you know how the Oscars go these days. But then again, the last couple of years they've actually been more reasonable, and actually more unlike what they usually do. But I hope she gets some Oscar consideration. I hope everybody here gets some Oscar consideration. The actors involved here, I think they do a very good job with this, and it's a very good film. It's a really good film overall. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It keeps you interested in what's going on. It makes tennis interesting, and it makes this love triangle very interesting in the way they handle it. It's a very solid film. Really good movie. It really makes you want to see more of Luca Guadagnino's work. If you've never seen the original stuff, like I want to see Call Me by Your Name, Suspiria now after watching this movie, and I'm very curious to see what he does going forward. I'm really interested to see what Hollywood has in store for him going forward with his directing abilities. This is a damn good movie, man. I can't recommend this one enough. I think it lived up to everything that they promised us with the trailers and all that. I'm glad we finally got to see it. I give this movie a good thumbs up. One of the best movies of the year so far. So that is Challengers. Let's go ahead and move on to the second film we have here. A re-release of a classic film. And that is, of course, Ridley Scott's 1979 classic, Alien. I mean, the story of Alien's pretty simple. If you haven't seen it already, you have these 7 people who are on this commercial spaceship, the Nostromo. They're about to go back to Earth, and they come across this distress message from this uncharted planet, and they come across this mysterious spaceship. And when they go on the spaceship, of course, that usually leads to a disaster, because they find themselves going up against a deadly and aggressive extraterrestrial loose within their vessel that starts taking them out one by one. And you can probably figure out what happens from there. But this was, of course, released back in 1979, and this year is the 45th anniversary of Alien. In fact, we're 1 month away from the original release date, but I guess they put it up here because the summer movie season and all that. But not only that, because April 26th is also Alien Day, and so they re-released this movie into theaters, which I'm glad to see that we're finally getting studios to re-release these movies in theaters again, because we have this in theaters again. Universal had Shrek 2 just come out not too long ago. The Mummy just came out in theaters this weekend because it was celebrating its 25th anniversary. Shrek 2 was celebrating its 20th anniversary. We've got Phantom Menace celebrating its 25th anniversary next month. And this movie is, of course, celebrating its 45th anniversary. And, I get a chance to see this on the big screen again big screen for the first time. I never got to see this movie on a big screen for obvious reasons. I was much too young. I didn't even exist when this movie came out, and of course, it took me a long time to actually see this movie in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I don't think I ever got to see this movie until it was on Freeform of all things a couple of years ago. And I gotta say, for a Freeform edit of the movie, compared to how that network cuts down so much stuff, I'm amazed at how much they kept in there. Like the chestburster scene, for example, is completely intact. Like there's nothing that different in that scene that hasn't been done in other TV edits of it. But like, I mean, hey, you gotta keep the classic going on here. But in this film, you have Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holm, and Yaphet Kotto. And in the beginning of the movie, you have this little about 10-15 minute conversation between Ridley Scott and the director of the upcoming Alien movie that comes out this summer, Alien Romulus, Fede Alvarez, and they're talking about the love of the Alien films, and also how Ridley Scott put the movie together. Which there was a lot of interesting things I didn't know about with this particular conversation. It's an engaging thing because you never figure it out unless you've seen the movie so many times, which I hadn't. But I had no idea that, like those shots where they're looking at where Ash is looking at the spaceship, and it looks like something that was taken literally off of TV. It was because it was literally taken off of TV. I guess Ridley Scott made a video and then put it on the television, and then took the camera and then recorded it off of TV. And that's one of the more memorable scenes in the movie. It's amazing that they were able to accomplish that with that type of camera tricks. With those type of camera tricks. Speaking of camera tricks, you realize that the three people wearing the spacesuits when they're going to that spaceship, they're kids, and it's only when you get to the close-up to their faces that you realize it's Tom Skerritt, Veronica Cartwright, and John Hurt. And other times it's just the kids of Ridley Scott, and I never knew that. And I thought that was very interesting on how this film can look so gigantic in scope, but have this minimal small budget and do these little tricks of the trade to make it seem like this thing is much bigger than it has any right to be. And I mean, what can you say about the movie, man? It still holds up after all these years. I mean, it is still an intense film to watch, and I love the way that it's just the perfect definition of a slow burn movie, because not much happens in the first maybe hour, though. In the first hour of the film, though, you keep getting invested by what's going on, because you really do like these characters. You really do want them to see where they're going to go, and you really do want them to see because you do buy into their friendships overall. You do believe that they have somewhat of a friendship that they've developed over the time that they've been on this ship, while also realizing that, hey, we want to know when we're going to get our cuts and all that. Like there's still a little bit of selfishness to them, but like you can still see that they still have somewhat of a connection to one another, and it just definitely shows in the way that they play this out. And like the alien doesn't really start doing anything until more than an hour in, and it's just, and again, perfect definition of a slow burn movie. It takes its time, though it doesn't bore you with stuff that really does not add up, does not feel like it's worth it when it's all said and done. It's just like, no, you're so invested in what's going on, you almost forget that the alien doesn't show up for a good bit of time in the film. I mean, this thing is about 2 hours long, and you really do not get, is like, when the alien actually starts doing what he does, it's not until, I saw this at 1 o'clock on 1 o'clock, so the movie goes along. The alien doesn't show up until around 2 o'clock, and I didn't even realize it that it had been an hour. And that's just the power of how good these actors are at doing their jobs in these movies, by creating a connection and creating interesting storylines that you really want to get behind them on. Like, that's the beauty of this movie, man. Horror movies like this are a rare commodity nowadays. Like, it's just something that, like, yeah, you could take a lot of inspiration from Alien, but most people just rip it off on so many different levels. And we saw that in a number of different movies that came out well after this movie. We still see it even today. And nothing compares to what the original Alien does. This bottle movie where there's this creature in the ship, and these guys have literally no idea how they're supposed to handle this, because this thing could be anywhere, and it shows throughout the course of the film. It can hide in vents. It has acid for blood, so it can find ways to get to specific people. It can find ways to get you no matter what, and that's the terrifying factor of this movie. And the brilliant thing about this is you never see this alien in full. That's the beauty of this whole thing, because I don't know if it was animatronics or a guy in a costume, but they did a pretty good job of concealing the fact that this thing, they don't show you the whole thing. And that's the beauty of it, is because you don't need to see the whole thing to know how scary this thing could be. And this thing does get some legitimate scares at times. Like I'll never forget that scene where Tom Skerritt is inside one of the air ducts, and Veronica Cartwright's character is telling him, it's there, get out of there. And you think it's going to be down at the bottom where he's at. So he climbs up the ladder thinking that he's safe, and then he turns around and the thing just pops out and kills him. And it's just like, that thing made me jump in the theater. And it's just like, I've seen this movie more than a couple of times to know that was going to happen, but when that happens in the movie, when it happened in the theater, I jumped, because it was just like, oh Jesus. Like, it's like that scene in Jaws where Richard Dreyfuss goes to find the sunken bone underneath, and all of a sudden you see that dead body come out of nowhere. Like, I've seen Jaws enough times to know that's coming. Every time it comes, I jump. Like, that's the moment in the movie where I jump. It's just like, oh Jesus, because it just comes out of nowhere. And like, it leaves a lasting impact on you, and that's the beauty of a movie like Alien. It leaves a lasting impact on you that still holds up. You still do get behind these characters a lot, even though nowadays they'd be considered stock characters. You gotta have but they're very interesting characters to take a look at and watch, and it's hard to believe. Like, I never put it together that Tom Skerritt was Dallas, and the fact that you see Tom Skerritt nowadays, and like, he's an old guy. He kind of looks like a little bit, kind of like what Sam Elliott did, but 10 years after this movie came out. Like, if you see Poltergeist 3, or even see him on, was it him on Picket Fences? Or, yeah, Picket Fences. Like, he definitely looks like an older person, but you never put the two together, that the same guy that plays Dallas in this movie is the same guy that was on Picket Fences and Poltergeist 3, and also on Cheers as well. Like, it's amazing what 10 years can do for a guy like him. I don't know if I'm not sure what happened, but it's amazing to see some of these actors that you never put together. These are the same actors that you've seen in other movies before, like Veronica Cartwright. I had no idea that this was the same actress that had only been in Invasion of the Body Snatchers a year before. Like, it's completely different actors altogether. She was also in the original Birds as well. Like Harry Dean Stanton kind of looks like who you expect Harry Dean Stanton to be like. John Hurt kind of looks like who you think John Hurt is nowadays, but much older. Ian Holmes, another guy that looks like somebody you could figure out who he is now. At least like how, in terms of age and all that. So same with Yaphet Kotto, same with Sigourney Weaver. I had no idea this was actually Sigourney Weaver's first movie, and actually she was given the part because Warren Beatty actually convinced Ridley Scott to take a look at her on Broadway, and so that's how she got the part. And for a first movie, she sells it. Like, she sells the mentality that she's the second in command on the ship. She's following the rules and all that, and she commands the screen when shit goes down. Like, it starts off, she's like a normal person, and then she's like kind of normal. Like, and then as the film goes along and you see that there's a bigger threat involved, she becomes more of a heroic heroine in this movie. And like, Ellen Ripley really is one of the best female written characters in any genre, like sci-fi, anything, because you just see you just see the evolving of a character within the span of a movie, and she just shows that she has a lot of charisma, and she knows that in situations like this, you just got to take your chances and just do whatever you can to get the hell out and survive. Like, it reminds me so much of Mrs. Brisby in The Secret of NIMH. It starts off as a normal character, a normal type of character, but she's willing to do whatever it takes to save her son in The Secret of NIMH. Kind of similar to here in Alien. She's like, Ellen Ripley is willing to do whatever it takes, even if it means destroying the ship and having to see everybody that she knows and has grown an attachment to just get killed by this thing. And like, but yeah, I mean, it's just a great character in general here. Though she probably could have saved more time by just dragging the cat along with her no matter where she went, instead of having to run back and go get him. It's just like that's a trope that's been talked about so many times before. And I always find it interesting that the alien never did anything to that cat in particular. Like the cat has charisma too. That's another character that has a lot of charisma, because there's the part where Harry Dean Stanton's character gets killed as he's going to find the cat. The cat sees the alien, and just looks like you see in the trailer that the cat usually that the cat does that same thing, but then you also see it screaming like wah, like it does the big meow, like a really angry meow, and like he doesn't do that in the movie. Like you get a lot of charisma from that cat because like there's a part where the alien's literally looking at the cat and you think, okay, fresh meat, right? Just leaves it alone, and then just goes to the plan that he asked for at the end of the film. But yeah, all the characters in here are so interesting. Even the non-human characters are interesting. The twists and turns they throw in here are very good as well. Like, yeah, you find out that Ash is a robot in probably one of the funniest ways possible. Like Yaphet Kotto just like slams into his head, and his head goes flying off, and it's just like it's still a good effect after all these years. The visual effects in this movie still hold up, and like you never question why is there just a robot on the ship. It's just like you don't question it because you get so attached to it, and you realize that hey, all bets are off at this point. Like it's like they could throw anything at you right now, and it'd be like okay, that doesn't matter right now because there's a freaking alien on the ship that's gonna kill you no matter what. But what else can I say about this movie that hasn't already been said? From just the visual perspective alone, the visuals in this movie, the practical effects, they still hold up. I love that chest burster scene I talked about before because the beauty of that is that's one of those great scenes where the story behind it is very interesting because apparently they never told anybody in the cast what was going to happen. They just gave them an idea of what was about to happen, but they had no idea that the thing was literally going to come out of John Hurt's body like that. And if you watch it, it still holds up. Like I love how it starts off. The natural progression of that scene within that one scene alone is amazing because it starts off like a normal thing, like everybody's eating, everybody's having a good time, and then you realize that something is completely off. Like John Hurt in that scene alone is amazing because it starts off, he's having fun, he's drinking, he's eating food, and then all of a sudden he just realizes that something is off here. Like it's not. And then everybody's trying to help him out, and then all of a sudden you see that burst of red coming out of his white shirt, and just the sounds that are coming out of him because he knows how horrible the pain is. It's like it probably looks horrible by the way I'm doing it, but like you could feel that pain coming through him, and then the thing comes out of there, then the chest burster comes out. That scene still holds up after all these years, and it's just like. The way that scene is shot, the reactions from everybody, the way it's presented, still holds up. It's something that will never ever be able to be topped, and it just goes to show you what this movie is capable of doing. The ending of the film in particular is really interesting to me because they do the thing where it's just like, oh, everything's okay now. Ellen got out of there, the cat's fine, so okay, we can end the movie. But nope, the alien somehow crept his way inside the tubes and just waited until she got to the commands. Just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And her hand comes out. His hand comes out. She jumps. And I love how the alien's just like, what's up, babe? Looks like we're gonna be together for a long, long time. And just like, but the way that she handles that, like she hides in the closet. She gets inside the spacesuit slowly. Again, slow burn stuff. Build the tension up. Like she's moving in, she's singing this little song to like calm herself down. This song, I think it's Lucky Star, I think it is, but like it's the build up that really works to the film's advantage because she's singing it and she's like, you can hear her breathing like, and like that slow turnaround, realizing that the alien is literally right there, and that scream that she gives out as she hits the button to open the air docks and then uses the harpoon to hit him, like. The tension and the way that scene is built is amazing, and like the alien, you feel bad for the alien too when he gets hit too, because he does that scream like it just comes out of nowhere, and just like, yeah, I know this thing was trying to kill people before, but like it's kind of hard not to feel bad for the alien too, because he's just like why would you do that to me? And like I love how the alien just comes out of there, and then like as soon as the door closes, like the alien just hits the ship like boom, boom. Like the sound work on this movie is incredible as well. And I like the way that it tries to come back in through the what do you call it? Through the engines, and it's essentially just destroying the alien, and that's it. That's how the movie ends. Ellen gives the final message to Nostromo. This is Ellen Ripley, last survivor of Nostromo, and the movie just ends. Like, I love that. It's weird because it's kind of a rush climax, but the way that it's set up, the way that they actually did it with that slow burn, and then just kind of realizing that we've given you, that's enough of us. We've given you everything that we want to give you. You can go home now. And like, I love the fact that she destroys the alien. Yeah, she destroys the alien. She gives her log entry, and then she goes into the stasis. And that's it. That's how the movie ends. And like, it's amazing how short that scene is when you really think about it. It's only a 5-minute scene, but there's still a lot of good slow burn and tension and like intensity throughout that scene. And it's just like, that's what I miss so much about Ridley Scott. I've kind of given Ridley Scott a bad rap over the last couple of years because everyone else still likes Ridley Scott, and I like Ridley Scott too, but they give his most recent films way too much credit than they have any right to be, because a lot of his movies that he's made in the last couple of years have not been that great. He's been more missed than hit. Like, his best film in the last 10 years was The Martian, and that came out in 2015. And then you've had stuff like The Counselor and Prometheus and Robin Hood and Alien Covenant, which his return to the Alien films have not been great because they just feel like that he's just rehashing the same thing over again and not doing anything new or different with it. At least with Prometheus, some of it was trying to do the same thing, but trying to do something different, but it was still the same movie when it was all said and done. All the Money in the World was not that great. I really don't like The Last Duel, even though everybody else did. House of Gucci is probably the closest thing since The Martian, I would say, is probably a good film, but even then, that film has a lot of flaws to it, but Ridley Scott just isn't the same director that he used to be, and you could tell when you watch that intro with him and Fede Alvarez that he was passionate about the way that he was making this movie, and that was, like, I want to see that Ridley Scott again. I want to see that passion again of doing something unique and original and doing something incredibly clever and different, even if it's based on other source material. Like, do something new and different with it. Don't give us rehashes like Gladiator 2. Like, nobody wants to see a Gladiator 2. Like, at least I don't want to see a Gladiator 2. It just feels like you're going back into the mill because you literally got nothing else to do here. You're like running on fumes at this point. Like, go back to doing what you did with Alien, a film where you took a lot of chances with it, decided to take it one step further, and you made one of the best horror movies ever made, best sci-fi films ever made. Like, do that. I mean, I miss that old Ridley Scott. I don't want to say that it's completely gone for good, but considering what the last 10 years worth of films have been like, where it's been more missed than hit, it's kind of hard for me not to say that. But yeah, I've gone on pretty much in good length about the first Alien movie, and it was really good to see it on the big screen. I finally got to get to tell people that, hey, I got to see a classic movie like this on the big screen, like I saw with Jaws on the big screen, Ghostbusters, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I'm really glad to see that re-releases are becoming the norm again, because it seems like all these big new releases are coming out every couple of weeks, at least for the first couple of months now. We're starting to get into the summer movie season where now it's going to be once every week now. But I want to see them do more re-releases like this. I know Disney and Fox have been doing a couple of them as of late, with like The Night Before Christmas getting a re-release. The Pixar films that were supposed to be in theaters but went straight to Disney Plus were like that. And then Die Hard, which I really wanted to see Die Hard on the big screen, but never came here, and I was really bummed about that. But I really want to see them do more movies, more re-releases like this. Like, I would love to see something like True Lies or Speed, which are celebrating their 30th anniversaries this year, on the big screen again. Like, they should do more stuff like this. I want to see them do more re-releases like this and actually put some effort into it. Like, you don't have to be like the Star Wars re-releases in '97, but give us more of them. Give us more re-releases like this, and I'll be there if it's a good movie that I want to see on the big screen again, because this is a movie that is a really damn good movie, and it led to the creation of a really good, mostly, okay, maybe not the best overall franchise, but the first two Alien movies are great films. So there is that. But hell, put Aliens back on the big screen again. I think they did it last year, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that. But we released Aliens on the big screen. I'd be interested to see James Cameron's '86 sequel on the big screen again. For the first time, I mean, not again. Okay, I've rambled on enough here. I don't think I need to tell you why you should see Alien. It's a classic movie. Even if you're not a big horror fan in general or sci-fi fan, you can watch it and still get invested in what's going on with it and have a good time with it. It's a really good movie. It still holds up after all these years. I can't recommend it enough. Big thumbs up on Alien. So that's it for this show. But let's go ahead and take a recap of the films that we have looked at this past month. I gave a thumbs up to Abigail, the story of Dracula's daughter being kidnapped based off the Bram Stoker tale, and directed by the guys who did the most recent Scream movies, with Melissa Barrera and Kevin Durant among the cast, along with Giancarlo Esposito. It's a really good movie, and Alicia Weir, who plays Dracula's daughter, really does sell the role. It's a very good film, very good fun horror film. Definitely check it out. Give it a thumbs up. I also gave thumbs up to Alex Garland's Civil War. A nice return to form for him. One of the best movies of the year, and you can easily see why it's one of the most controversial films of the year, because it asks you to pick a side up to be on. And I like a film that makes you think, and I miss these type of movies. That's why I give this movie a good recommendation. It's one of the best movies of the year. Civil War, I enjoyed a lot. And, of course, I gave thumbs up to Challengers, another movie I really enjoyed. Zendaya, Mike Face, and Josh O'Connor do a really good job of creating this love triangle within the world of tennis. And it's an intriguing film, boasted by the great performance by Zendaya and a great direction by Luca Guadagnino. Terrific film, one of the best films of the year, thumbs up. And last but not least, I give a thumbs up to Ridley Scott's Alien. It's on the big screen now for a limited time, and if you want to see a great classic movie, a great science fiction film, great horror film on the big screen, Alien is definitely one to see on the big screen, at least for the experience alone. I can't recommend this one enough. Big thumbs up. So, of course, next week we head into the beginning of the summer movie season, which for the first time since 2006 will not have a Marvel movie opening up. Almost 20 years, so expect the box office to not be as good for this particular film, but we got The Fall Guy to start off with, from the director of Bullet Train, starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in the movie adaptation of the TV series. So, we'll see how that pans out. The reviews have been coming out for it, and they have been strong overall, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out. It's going to be a very interesting summer movie season in general. Also, tune in on the Reviewing Network Live later tonight for my summer movie preview special, where I'll run down all 4 months of the summer movie season. So we'll take a look at all 4 months on that show. So check that out over on the other channel. But if you like what you see here, check out the last reviews I did for Abigail and Civil War. Check out some of the other reviews I've done. Hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, as always, take care.